Southeast of the Patrimony, the Golden Empire of Yi was the oldest and arguably greatest of the Eastern civilizations, wealthier than Valyria and more ancient than Old Gis, described as a land of 1,000 gods and 100 princes, ruled by one god emperor. A successor state to the Empire of the Dawn that once ruled nearly all of far eastern Essos. Tragedy struck when the Long Night fell upon the world roughly 8,000 years before conquest, as Eastern tradition states it allowed for an invasion of demon monsters, who were only defeated when a hero, some named Azor Ahai, restored light to the world. In order to defend against these monsters, it was believed the Pearl Emperor built 5 forts from fused black stone in the east, each of which was capable of housing 10,000 men. Collapsing from the years of hardship, the Golden Empire of Yi rose from the ashes of what remained, ruled by various dynasties over the years, which sometimes came into conflict over leadership. Yet they faced a far worse threat along their northern border, suffering many raids by the brutal Jogos Nhai, forcing Yi to dedicate significant resources to defenses, even invading the plains on 3 occasions, though these campaigns garnered little success. An ancient, proud, polytheistic people, their most notable gods were the Lion of Night, who mated with the Maiden Maid of Light to produce the god on earth that originally ruled the Empire of the Golden Dawn. Just south of Yi was Leng, a heavily forested and jungled island, home to valuable resources like spices, gemstones, and exotic animals, described as a home to 10,000 tigers and 10 million monkeys. Originally populated by the tall, golden-eyed Lengi, the natives were strict isolationists, ruled by a god empress who worshipped the Old Ones living in the island's subterranean ruins. Even after Leng started accepting merchants from Yi, the Old Ones ordered them to slaughter the foreigners on at least 4 occasions. Eventually, Yi conquered Leng, sealed the underground ruins, and confined all natives to the southern third of the island. Yet around the year 100 BC, the people of Leng rose up in rebellion and won their independence, once again falling under the rule of a god empress, who this time took 2 husbands, one of Yi descent, the other Lengi, so that one may be in charge of the army and the other their fleet. While Leng did not wish to be part of the Golden Empire, both realms were able to prosper from the Jade Sea trade route in the waters to the south. Moving through the Jade Gates along the coast of Karth and Great Morak, merchants and adventurers risked the long journey between east and west to trade for silk, gemstones, spices, and other exotic goods that might be sold for high prices in faraway lands. Passing by the Isle of Whips towards the Yi settlement of Yin, the route then visited Leng and Jinkai before moving south to the mountainous Shadowlands and mysterious city of Ashai. Travelers may then return west, past the Manticore Isles, the island of Marahai, and port city of Zabad, on the coast of the Isle of Elephants, a land ruled by the Shan from a palace of ivory. Moving towards Port Morak, the Jade Sea trade route continued past the Cinnamon Straits, towards Lesser Morak, Vahar, and Pharos, where inhabitants worshipped a stone cow. Although travel to the Far East could provide great riches, long sea voyages presented many dangers, as ships from Pentos, even under the best of circumstances, could take 2 years to reach the Jade Sea and return. The distance and infrequency of interactions between their peoples also meant travelers were susceptible to foreign diseases, sometimes transporting those illnesses to spread plagues like the Great Death, which struck Pentos, killing over 2,000 people. Yet beyond even the Jade Sea trade route, towards the furthest eastern reaches of the known world, more realms and civilizations existed, but were so distant and rarely contacted that stories of these lands more often resembled myth or legend than reality. Far to the north were the Thousand Islands, which may have once been a civilization that submerged beneath the rising sea. Despite the name, Ibbenese sailors have only counted about 300 islands, populated by a mysterious, xenophobic race of hairless, green-skinned fish god-worshipping women that filed their teeth into points, and men that performed ritualistic circumcision. A hostile people known to sacrifice sailors to their gods, they were also terrified of the sea, preferring death to touching its waters. South of the islands were the lands of Mosavi, a great grey forest haunted by shape-changers and demon hunters. Then there was the kingdom of Nagai and their sole remaining city Nefer, home to a people kin to the Jogos Nhai, enemies which destroyed their other settlements. Nefer, also called the Secret City, was reportedly home to necromancers and torturers. To the southeast, there was the Bleeding Sea, whose waters turned red from a blooming plant, the Cannibal Sands, where inhabitants ate the flesh of men, and the Grey Waste, a cold desert populated by raiders known to attack Yeti forces at the 5 forts. Further south, there was the city-state Kadath, where inhabitants performed horrific rituals to feed their mad gods, the land of shrieks, home to shrieking monsters, and Bone Town, made entirely out of bone, where travelers could trade for rare and ancient bones recovered from the Dry Deep region nearby. To the south, bordering the very edges of the known world, were the cities of the Bloodless Men, home to a people as pale as corpses, where some claimed they were undead, brought back to life through dark rituals. North of the Hidden Sea, there was the city of Winged Men, where men with leather wings flew through the air, and to the south was the city Carcosa, which in later years was taken over by an exiled sorcerer claiming to be the 69th Yellow Emperor of Yeti. Moving south past the mountains of the Morn, there was the ancient city of Ashai, a dark, dangerous place where no children or animals were found. All religions were accepted, and all manner of magic was practiced. Although food and fresh water were scarce, they were rich in precious metals and gems, trading for what was needed. The legend of Azor Ahai, who vanquished demon armies during the Long Night, may have originated in Ashai, with the followers of the Red God R'hllor believing he would one day be reborn to fight against a second darkness. Despite being a massive settlement built from oily black stone, only 1 in 10 buildings were occupied. Considered grim on the best of days, the dark-skinned sullen Ashai spoke a shrill, ululating language and largely kept to themselves, walking alone while wearing face coverings, or else traveling in palanquins with dark curtains carried on the backs of slaves. The contaminated Ash River that flowed through the city was black during the day while shining pale green at night, producing fish so blind and deformed only shadowbinders dared consume them. Despite the sinister reputation surrounding Ashai, the corpse city of Stegai to the east was a yet more daunting location, populated by demons and monsters, where even shadowbinders feared to tread. Then there were the Shadowland Mountains, which may have been the original homeland of dragons, but in more modern times was populated by a mysterious people wearing red wooden masks while covered in tattoos. Once considered a significant threat to nearby powers, the Maroon Emperors of Yeti moved their court to Jinkai so they might better defend against Shadowmen Reavers. Finally, there was Ulthos, located across the Saffron Straits from Ashai, a land of which almost nothing was known, though maps suggested it was heavily jungled, with a river on its western coast and a ruined city on the nearby island of Ulos. Given its distance to Westeros and proximity to other near-mythical locations, maesters could not even be certain whether Ulthos was an independent continent or just a large island, with some even suggesting it might be connected to Sothorios or Essos. A special thanks to all those who contribute to CivilizationEx, like Faith the Wandering Huntress, Renee the Demigod, Elendil of Numenor, and Feanor Nathan. If you'd like to help the channel, be sure to give a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and click on the links below, or else go to patreon.com/CivilizationEx, where you can gain early access to videos, vote on future content, and watch the Patreon-only series, Heroes of Lore and Legend.